This looks like it needs to go somewhere, doesn't it? Hey, this is Dave from HouseBarons.com. Today we're taking on replacing the motor inside the MrCool Minisplit. When we first put this in, it was whisper quiet. Now, let's just hit it and you'll hear. All right, so that won't do. And so we're gonna get back to whisper quiet. There's a motor right in here. There's a few things to take apart, but we'll get to it and we'll show you how to take everything apart and replace it all again.
If you're new to our channel, consider subscribing because we want to show you how to do a job yourself so you can save a ton of money.
Here's the motor that we got from MrCool. And this is what we're looking for, but it actually is buried in there a bit. So we're gonna have to take a few things off to actually get to it to replace it.
All right, well, be sure to turn off the power at your breaker for your DIY MrCool mini split. There are going to be several parts that we need to remove to replace this motor. And so we're laying everything out in order. So when it comes time to put this whole thing back together, hopefully it'll be pretty easy because we'll have all the parts lined up.
Okay, so what we have here is an earlier generation, earlier model MrCool DIY. So yours might be a little bit different depending on when you bought it, but it's similar. So just be aware. Use this video as a guide. If something doesn't look exactly identical, it's probably because it's a different model.
All right, so the first step here is to open the front panel, and it just kind of lifts up. And then there's a little like catch on it that will hold it open. And there's two screws here on the front panel that need to be removed. And then there's like a hidden screw. It's got this little hidden panel right there in the middle that needs to be popped up. And then you can get to that third screw. So basically just these three screws are holding this whole front on. There we go. So we used a magnetic bit here to get
That third screw.
the third screw out, which was right there in the middle. So the display sensors are behind this little panel here. And to just open this panel is a little bit tricky. You got to pry it up from the bottom and then pry over on the right side. And it's got little tabs. And then finally there's tabs up near the top. You also have to pry that off. So anyway, that cover comes off.
These three tabs hold it.
Okay.
And that tab, it goes into the side over there.
All right.
Like that.
So once that's removed, this controls the display and you have to unhook that. There's like an antenna wire up there.
Yeah, right there.
It just clips in up there,
Yep.
and you have to unclip it. At the top of the casing, you have to unclip.
That's ready to come off.
To get this panel off, the first thing to do was to unhook these 5 tabs, and you can see there's a little arrow for each tab. So you get all 5 of those. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there's these little side clips, and you just kind of press it in. You can pull the whole front housing off. So this unit over here that is the control panel, and we have to get that whole control panel out of there. In order to do that, there's a whole bunch of wires that are connected to it. And so we need to remove those wires.
Red is attached to number 1 on ours. Yellow is at number 3. Black looks like it's number 2, and then green for ground is over here on this far side. But see, yeah, it won't release unless I take them off out of these holes.
Okay.
And then I got these 2 right here, and then this temperature sensor will come off right here.
Okay.
So I'll try the ground first. Okay, that was green, and then working our way across number 3. It's yellow. Number 2 is black. Number 1 is red. Red, black, yellow, green.
It's a good idea to make a note of which number goes for which wire. We forgot our pencils, so Dave's putting it.
Red, 1.
He's putting in his phone.
Green is actually in the 5th spot, or the farthest to the right. So we've removed these 4 wires from 1, 2, 3 and ground way over here. Now we'll take these guys off from the air handler. And then here's the coil temperature sensor. And pull that up. There you go.
Okay, so there's this little tie that's holding all the wires together and you have to cut that.
There's one screw up here hidden at the top, holding in the control. Okay. Okay, so now we gotta unclip the control housing. Okay, and then fold it away. And everything is still connected. So we're gonna find a way to use zip ties to just hang it from the zip ties themselves. And that just means we have to take less wires apart. This way we can just loop this out of the way, hopefully. Take these screws off. And I'm actually going to put one of these screws back in as a reminder. We'll pop this off and pull this out of the way. Oh, that's going to be fun to remember. Pull that out of the way. Oh, you know what? Even before we do that, I think I can pop this cover off. And we are going to unhook this one goes to the motor.
The top one?
Yeah, the top one goes to the motor. Press on that and it releases. All right, that goes to the motor itself. And you got to remember this wire goes under this one. So then we'll pop the control panel off, lift it up, and then unclip this plug from the bottom. Okay, the little one. Mm-hmm. And that's off.
All right. So all that just to get to the motor. And we're not quite there yet.
All right, so this housing has a screw here and then one here. And your model may be different, but if you've got this model, it's a royal pain. And an offset Phillips would be best, or maybe a ratchet that has a swivel on it, but I can barely get this on and start it turning. Well, I started turning it. There we go. Yeah, that was difficult. Okay. And then this one right down there. Exactly opposite of the one I just took off. There's two on this side, one on that side, and then one that's hidden.
So then the coil can come up out of there. And then they said to spin this and see if you can see a cutout.
Okay, keep going.
There's one screw that's really quite hidden, but there's some kind of cutout in this little rolling deal.
Okay, there you can see through that wider section of fan blade, there's a set screw on the axle shaft of the motor. And we got to get a screwdriver in that hole and get to release that set screw. That tab right there, I'm going to try to press that in, and that should release the housing on the other side so it can be pulled down. Can you see the tab right there, the little white thing?
Yeah.
And that's, can you see it on my screwdriver?
Yeah, so you're pointing at it right now.
Yeah, I'm going to push that in that direction.
To the left.
To the left, and they'll release this housing.
Okay. Good luck.
After we got the screw back here, see this right here? There was a screw right in that hole right there. And then once we took that off, now we're going to try to depress that tab that you can't even get a screwdriver on practically. Right there. And that is what's required.
That was like the holy grail there. That's the secret of the whole thing.
You're not going to, if you don't do that.
I think last time it took us like an eternity to find that.
It did. Okay, so now we got separation here.
Okay.
Now we have separation between the actual cooling fins section and this housing, which is, we still don't actually remove because there's some tab in back here, but we can get the motor out from underneath it.
Okay, so you found another screw way at the top in here. At the top of the motor housing. And hopefully we've got a free housing.
That's it. That's it.
Good job, man.
Now we got to try to get it out of there. Wow,
this was clearly not made to be worked on.
Nope. We got to try to lift it out of that slot.
It's like just a little higher.
Can you pull it? Yeah. Definitely a two-man job.
Thanks, DIY Mr. Cool. There she is. So we kind of thought this was going to be a pretty simple job.
It's stupid. Stupid.
At least we got the old one out. All right, now simply reverse the steps and you're done.
Easier said than done. With this wire up front, I'm going to try to pop it into the housing. I got to get the shaft going towards the hole here at the same time as getting it all in. All right, I pulled the fan blades this way so I can make room for the shaft and try to get it in this hole. That's how it's gonna sit. We're gonna get it in a little bit more, and then this housing has to come down on it. So it's gonna sit up in here like so. Oh, that sounded bad. It's good. I think this will just slide right in onto the shaft, but I'm going to go ahead and put these screws on. This screw in here, because that was a real pain first. Okay. Put that in first. Now we'll go ahead and put the fan blades on the shaft. Put the blades back on. You know what? I may have to loosen the screw so this motor can bend up a little bit.
Wait, so you just took out the screw that you had just put in?
Yeah, so you'll see when you redo this. Now
so that needs to be loose in order to get it in there.
Yeah, so you can see it's bending up now.
Okay.
See, it moves around. Need to open this up a little bit more.
So what was the secret?
Push it, hold the motor, so it all lines up. The blue fins go underneath this housing. Make sure there's nothing interfering. But once you're on right, it fits right into that slot. And then this side snaps back in. I'm gonna basically be screwing that screw on, which will tighten the shaft. It's a set screw on the motor shaft, and we have to make sure we tighten that before we button everything up.
You're talking about this one right here at the end?
Yep, at the very end, that shiny one.
Okay. And that was kind of critical to this, right?
Yeah, that we want. Well, we just want to make sure it gets all buttoned up. So now I'm just going to tighten it up. Okay.
Was it loose?
Yeah. But see that they make an opening in one set of fan blades, so you can get to that.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, now put it back together. And hopefully we find out what was making that noise. The old motor was messed up because I remember when we spun it. And now this is sounding great.
So if you spin it right now, it would have made noise the other time?
Yeah. That's quiet as...
Because you've spun it.
Yeah. So that... We should be okay if I can make sure I put this back right so that we Don't have any interference. That part right there is off, and it's going to come right back into that housing right there. That fin slides into that slot, like so. And now we'll clip this back down. Right, I'm going to go ahead and do this screw while we're at this spot now. That's good. So now we put that screw back in. This is the bottom screw for the plastic housing. And that was hard to get to, so now while we've got it all assembled, we can put it in.
Nice. That was a lot easier than
when we took it out.
And removing it.
Now we'll put this side back down, make sure everything lines up, make sure all the plastic parts line up right. Oh, nice.
Which screw are you on now?
This is the bottom screw for the plastic housing. And that was hard to get to, so now while we've got it all assembled, we can put it in. That's in.
Nice. That was a lot easier than
when we took it out.
And removing it.
Now we'll put this side back down, make sure everything lines up, make sure all the plastic parts line up right. Oh, nice. That piece right there needs to go right into that square on both sides, and it locks down real nice. And then this piece will close on it. Slide this back piece into its slot. Mm-hmm. And then there you go. And that side's in. And we'll get that side in, and then we'll put the screws in. Okay, so that screw's there, and you make sure these wires are free.
All right, now you're doing the back screw?
The back top screw. This screws the housing, the metal fin housing to the plastic housing in the back. Okay.
That tightened it up.
Yep. And then this screw right here on the top. Snug that together. Now we got two screws on this side to do.
On the other side.
On the other side, yep. Red's in 1, black's in 2, yellow's in 3, and then ground is all the way to the last one, number 5. These have to be pushed back in after you pull the wires out, so they're ready to receive the wires. Okay. And then now green goes in. Okay, now that they're in their slots, but we got to get those nuts on them to lock them in place. Okay, so we'll do red first.
All right, so you've just tightened the screws on all 4 of them.
Yep.
Okay.
It really helps to have a magnet on your screwdriver because these things are so small. This goes into the bottom, this piece right here, and then everything should line after that. Yep. And then you can see if it's lined up, then your screw hole right there for the top screw should line up. This one plugs into the bottom. And then this one plugs into the top, like so. That's in. Now we have our temperature sensor. Goes in this hole. Goes in that hole right there. Perfect. And these 2 wires. The one on the far right goes to the bottom. Second wire goes to the middle hole. And then we've already plugged our coil temperature sensor in there. This is our antenna, which goes into the box. And so this is going to come up, and it's a stress relief clamp, and it's going to go right there. Got to take that screw back out.
That was the one you left to remind you where it goes?
To remind us where it goes.
And that just locks the wires down.
Yeah. Okay. Keeps the stress off those guys. All right. And then we got our box cover. So now we just slide that guy in there, and so we're good. Okay. All right, now I think we're ready for this guy. There's the 5 top clips on this. The side clips are right up here on both sides.
Yeah, so I think those have to go on first.
Yeah. This is a little unwieldy. 2 sets of hands on this one.
There's a little bit of a struggle, but when you're putting that housing on, it'll just lock in when you have it right.
And the top has the locking tabs on it.
And then there's that one screw that's in the front on the bottom.
This one's fun to line up.
And it's got like this little secret compartment. What did they do that for?
I don't know. Okay.
And then there's just 2 more screws. Hey, not too many parts left.
You gotta do these guys. Plug these 2 together.
And that controls the temperature reading, right?
Display, yeah.
The display.
Okay. And our antenna, whoopsie, it has to be on this side. And I think these were up here like so. And this was up here like so. Just like that.
Good. That looks right.
Okay.
Very good. One last panel.
Okay. So we'll put it in like this. And then these guys will just snap in this into place. There we go.
Hey, we got it.
All right. And close her up. Now back to the breaker and see if we can get some power. All right, we just marked our unmarked outlet, and now we can go ahead and we have power. Let's go see what we got.
All right, so that was pretty brutal. This is the moment of truth. We'll see how it goes. Oh, that's a good sign. It's opening on up.
Fan, we'll do fan or mode. I think it was mode. Yeah, it's quiet.
All right, let's turn this baby on. Okay, so we're putting that on. We put it on heat. There it goes. It's super quiet. And that thing's cranked all the way up to 80 degrees, and that sounds nice to me. It's not making much noise, so that sounds great. Let me switch it back over to the cool mode and we'll see how that goes. Alright, so there we have it on cool mode. They also have this little button, that's a silence button. And that makes it even quieter. So that's cool. Got cool air coming out, and that sounds really good to me. So that silence button is on the remote at the top right. Oh, that's nice. Super happy because this is a vacation rental house, and before we replaced the motor, it was so loud I wouldn't have been able to sleep here. But now with the new motor, this thing's back to being whisper quiet. Awesome. Hooray for the MrCool.
All right, so that's how you replace your motor on a MrCool DIY Minisplit. If you got anything out of this video, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. Hope it helps. Don't forget to subscribe. We've got lots more videos coming. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. MrCool DIY.
Okay. I believe you. It's super quiet.
Yeah.